The City Council for the City of Erlingwood will come to order Wednesday, August 19th, 2026 at 7 p.m. We will begin with roll call.
Kevin Shell.
Kevin Glasheen.
Phil McDuffie.
Sarah Hudson.
Gavin Massigo, being a quorum present, we will move on to public comments. Anyone wishing to make public comment on items not on the agenda is welcome to do so. We do have one. Hey, Shanti, how are you? But identify yourself for the
Yes, I
record.
will.
I don't recognize you.
I will. Thank you. Hang on one second. Let me get this on. Okay. Shanti Jayakumar, 3309 Park Hills Drive. I have a couple of comments to make. Mayor, council members, I'm here to share my excitement that our current city council will be continuing to serve our community for another term. Thank you. It gave me tremendous relief to know that you, Mayor Massingle, together with Sarah Hudson and Kevin Glasheen, signed up to serve our city for another term starting in November this year. Apparently, you did not draw any opponents. I take that as a sign that the citizens approve of your excellent service and want more of the same. Mayor, thank you for your 10-year service to our city, serving half of those years since 2021 as our mayor, and hopefully for many more years to come. Thank you to your family, especially, she's not there, First Lady Holly Massingle. Okay. I know she's usually there. Kevin Glasheen, thank you for stepping up to serve us since 2022 and pledging to serve for another term, and perhaps more. A special thank you to Eva Ruth. Convey that. Sarah Hudson, you are now the longest serving council member. I did my research. In 2008, after Dale Dingley was elected mayor and his council seat became vacant, you served for a year by appointment. The vote was tied, and I'm proud to have joined Liz Greco in supporting your appointment. It was a tiebreaker vote. Though we did not always agree, I enjoyed serving with you. That same year, Hollis Jeffries retired after 20 years of service to our city, 16 years on the council and 4 as mayor, which was then the longest tenure in Rollingwood City Council history. Sarah, you have surpassed that record by the greater part of a year on the city council. You are the keeper of our institutional memory bank. Thank you for continuing to serve us. Sincerely. Now I can retire, right? But I'll keep doing the history part. Thank you all very much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shanti, for those kind comments. For the record, I at least did not put her up to that, so but we do appreciate it.
Me neither.
Yes, okay. With anyone else wishing to make comment on items not on the agenda? Seeing, hearing none, we will move on to agenda item number 2, presentations. Annual MS4 presentation from, I'm going to say Lochner. They keep changing the name on us, but I think we have Maritza here.
Yeah, I think this is our last week as Lochner, so I still put Lochner there, but
We'll see. I'll probably still.
yeah,
I can go back
they've
to
told
Cape,
us
I can
we'll
go back to
stay
Cape
here for
Freeze
a
if you
while.
want. So. Welcome.
Okay. Hi, I'm Maritza Almada. I'm here representing Lochner, now Aegis, and this will be our annual educational presentation on the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, or MS4 for short. This is my 3rd time doing this presentation, and we go to the next one. Okay, so an MS4 is a publicly owned or operated stormwater drainage system, and it includes structures such as drains, ditches, curbs, gutters, and any other means of collecting and conveying rainfall runoff that is not wastewater system, because they tend to confuse us too. And the purpose of the MS4 is to prevent pollutants from entering any storm sewer system to prevent the degradation of the receiving waters, which specifically is the Edwards Aquifer. And the aim is to protect both human health and wildlife. And, oh, we're still on that one. Yeah. So part of this stormwater management program we've created is the MS4 annual reporting, and both of these, let me see. So yeah, the TCQ issues a general permit to discharge into the surface waters under both guidance of the EPA Water Act 402 and the Texas Water Code, Chapter 26. And the TCQ outlines specific requirements to comply with the permit. And it also gives the city of Rollingwood the authority to fill out these applications, and so we don't have every small project doing each MF4. So then we can go to the next one. The stormwater management program is updated every 5 years. The last time we submitted was this last year, so the 2024, well, we submitted in 2025, but it was the 2024, and the next time it will be resubmitting the program will be in 2029, and the only thing that we need to do for that is a yearly MS4 annual reporting, and this presentation is one of those items that we need to continue keeping track of. And so part of this program, we have minimum control measures, which will be mentioned as MCM for short, or best management practice, or BMPs for short. And I'll give a couple of examples on those on the next slide. Okay, and so as part of the annual reporting, we need to keep track of a lot of items. So our first MCM is public education, outreach, and involvement. That includes items like this presentation, or updating the City of Rollingwood website, distributing educational flyers to citizens, and other public education information. Our second MCM is illicit discharge detection and elimination, and that includes some training that the city has done to city staff to help identify when any illicit discharges have been spilled, and they will enforce penalties if any of them are noticed within the community. The third MCM that we keep track of is construction site storm water runoff, and that includes plan reviews that Aegis is in charge of for just making sure that every plan accounts for erosion control measures during construction, and that they're using the correct details, and will conduct inspections as needed. The fourth MCM is post-construction stormwater management. And in this one, we're ensuring that everything is constructed as per plan and conforms to the ordinances, and everything should be corrected if they do not. And we do post-construction erosion control inspections and reviewing any zoning changes that occur. And our last MCM is pollution prevention and good housekeeping. And this includes maintaining the city vehicles, street sweeping, and cleaning and maintaining storm sewer systems and ditches. And those are just kind of like a very brief summary of all the things that we work with City of Rollingwood to keep track of. And so, yeah, in summary, Aegis now has been working closely with the City of Rollingwood to comply with every aspect of the MS4 this year, and we'll continue doing these yearly educational presentations next year. We'll have Aegis, hopefully, and not another name up there. And I think that is all I have for today. Do we have any questions?
Thank you for being here with us. I feel much more educated on the MS4. Any questions for Maritza?
I'd like to never see slide 6 ever again, if possible.
We'll do our best.
For those that don't remember, that was my front yard.
Oh,
All
no.
the drainage improvements.
We'll talk more about your presentation next year.
No,
so.
I know. I'll change that. Alrighty.
You
All right.
said construction runoff is
Yes.
inspected as needed.
Mm-hmm.
What defines need?
Oh, well, currently, as Aegis, we will do our just like drainage inspection by the end and just making sure that all the drainage components have been done. And then for the city of Rolingwood, I know you guys have the pre-construction meetings, just establishing that all the erosion control measurements are met. That is what we've been currently doing. And in the review process, we just make sure that all the, logs are being placed in their plans. But just as of now, we are not doing the inspections.
Okay. So there's not a requirement for periodic inspections throughout construction?
As of now, we don't have one, but we are currently working on updating our quantifiable measurements for all of this. So we will make sure to talk about that point.
But we as staff make the rounds periodically and do check those things. So while Aegis wouldn't be the one doing it, staff is doing that. So okay. Any other questions? All right. Thanks
All right.
again.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
All right. With that, we will move on to the consent agenda. I'm happy to take a motion.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
You have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Mr. Shell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving on to the regular agenda. Agenda item number 13, discussion and possible action on adoption of a resolution authorizing the defeasance and redemption of a portion of the outstanding City of Rollingwood, Texas General Obligation Bond Series 2023, approving and authorizing the execution of an escrow agreement resolving other matters incident and related thereto, and providing an effective date. If you'll give me one moment, council. Okay, since this is my first defeasance process, as mayor or council member or any sort of elected position, I'm going to keep it simple, but I do want to put a few things on the record, just for clarity for those who may not have the packet in front of them. In 2023, the city issued $3,885,000 in general obligation bonds, Series 2023. The proposed resolution is drafted by the city's bond council. This proposed resolution, as drafted by the city's bond council, authorizes the city to defease and ultimately redeem a portion of those outstanding bonds in order to reduce future interest payments, aggregate debt, service requirements, and the city's outstanding legal debt. The bonds proposed for defeasance consist of $275,000 in principal from the Series 2023 to 2049 term bonds, which carries an interest rate of 4.125%. This amount consists of $190,000 of the term bond stated to mature in 2049 and $85,000 associated with the 2048 mandatory sinking fund redemption. The approval of this resolution will do 4 things. It will authorize the defeasance and redemption of the identified Series 2023 bonds, authorize the transfer of lawfully available city funds sufficient to discharge the defeased obligations to BOFKNA acting as the escrow agent, approve the related escrow agreement and authorize the execution of the documents and the taking of other actions necessary to complete the transaction, and authorize required notices of defeasance and redemption, and if necessary, engagement of verification agents to confirm the funds deposited into escrow are sufficient to pay the obligations. As we talked about at our last budget workshop council, we were fortunate enough with proper management to come in a bit under budget on our CIP improvements that we made, and we do have some funds still available. So obviously we talked about it at that time. I think the council suggested that staff and myself get with bond counsel and make sure that we have all the P's and Q's figured out on this of how to go about it, and that is what is before you, so that we can take that action, use those funds that we saved to go ahead and buy down a portion of the debt to the benefit of the taxpayers, which will have a significant savings over the full life of these bonds. That is my full explanation. Do not ask me any questions, but if you have questions, we do have professionals here who can answer those for you. Do you want to come up, James, and just identify yourself for the record? I think you've brought some professional assistance of your own, so go ahead and give us just a quick rundown. But I think we're in a good spot, but I want you to be available, you both to be available for any questions.
Sure. It's a pleasure to be here again this evening. For the record, I'm James Gilley with U.S. Capital Advisors, serving the city as your financial advisor. Justin Rosas with ORIC is here representing you as bond counsel. So just to kind of give a general overview of what a defeasance is, it's a relatively common practice in Texas. As the mayor mentioned, the city has a near miracle of coming in under budget. So I think there's somewhere in the range of $300,000 in excess bond proceeds. And so the process of a defeasance is the maturities that the mayor mentioned were partial 2048 and 2049, total to $275,000. Those bonds are not callable until August 1st of 2032. So taking the extra bond funds, you would put those funds into an irrevocable escrow account. So the money can't be taken out, but it would be invested in state and local government securities, which has a clever acronym. We call them slugs. So the money in the escrow account is going to earn a little bit of interest, and the money deposited into that escrow account has to be sufficient to make the interest payments on the 2048 and 49 bonds. So you're going to make 2 interest payments a year until those bonds are callable in August of 2032. So somewhere out there, there's some bondholders that they're holding on to those bonds that they purchased from the city, and from their perspective, they won't know that they're just going to keep getting they're going to keep receiving their interest payments. So until 2032. But as I understand, once the defeasance is completed, the city is no longer obligated for payment on those bonds, on those selected maturities. Does that?
Good explanation. Yep.
And
that process, and the reason we have to use a third party is because they're the ones committing to that payoff. So
BOKF has served as your paying agent and registrar, and so that means that they keep record of every single bondholder that has any of your bonds, and so they have records of who is owed what, and so they're taking. That's why we're using BOKF as the escrow agent. So,
great. Any questions, council?
I have a couple of questions because I'm familiar with real estate financing because I'm a developer and we borrow HUD money. And when we pay back early, we have to do a defeasance penalty or there's a rate maintenance agreement. So if we pay off a loan and rates have gone down, we have a calculatable penalty. I see that we're paying 4.125 on the bonds. What are we getting in the escrow? So what's the spread?
It's I believe the escrow yield currently is just under 3.9%. When the city
So
sold,
it's close.
so it's close. When the city sold the 2023 bonds, I believe the arbitrage yield, the way that the federal government measures, calculates interest rate, was your borrowing cost was about 3.91%, and so in the escrow fund, you're going to be restricted to earning less than that. So the federal government doesn't want you taking taxes and debt and investing it over your borrowing rate.
Right.
It's lost.
So they don't want us doing arbitrage where we borrow money and then invest it like a carry trade
Correct.
or something.
Correct. Because then they can't get their hands on it.
Right.
tax.
So makes sense. So what's the present value of the penalty, basically, or the difference in yield?
So
In other words, what's it costing us, bottom line, to pay off
right,
this debt?
yeah, well, there's negative arbitrage of $62,894, and that represents the inefficiency in the escrow account. But in terms of the savings, there's net savings. So there's net present value savings of just under $230,000. So over the life of the bonds.
Well, that's pretty great, but how do we end up with net savings if we're paying defeasance penalty of 60,000?
Well, the 62,000 it's because you can't earn over your arbitrage,
Okay.
your borrowing rate. So as I said, the escrow isn't perfectly efficient.
Right. But the savings you're referring to, what is that, in reduced interest payments over the next life of the bond?
That's the difference between if you don't do the defeasance and what you're paying over the next 20.
Right, but the net present value is negative 60.
No, the net present value is positive. It's
Okay.
it's a $230,000. So you're saving 83%. It's 83% savings based on measured on the $275,000 principal that you're paying off.
Okay. Well, we've reached the limit of my comprehension. Capacity.
Everybody has one.
So at this point, I gotta trust y'all, so I appreciate that.
Of course.
Thank you.
Be happy to, any questions about the ordinance, I'd hand it off to the more intelligent person behind me.
I'd like to scale it up. Starts with me, then now we've got Justin to back clean up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, only if y'all have questions on like the legal side, he handles all the financing and the numbers, but.
Go ahead and identify yourself, just so we know you're here, Justin.
Justin Rosas with Orr, Carrington, and Sutcliffe. We have the pleasure of serving as bond counsel to the city. We helped with the bond election in 2023 and issuing those bonds in 2023. And so, as been explained, we're just trying to defease the bonds to have some interest savings since you'll have the cost left over after the construction. But yeah, if you have any questions on the legality of how this process works or the ordinance that's in front of you, happy to answer any questions.
We appreciate y'all. If it was 10 times as much money, I'd have more questions.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fairly common practice that happens against all government entities. And as Mayor was saying, there's a redemption, right? So if you had the cash and the money was due now, you could just redeem it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But since when the bondholders signed up, you made a promise to them that these wouldn't be callable at least till 2032, so they'd get some money, right? And so this is more of a legal framework to be able to take the money, the debt off of your books, but not technically pay it off. And so that's why there's the escrow agent to hold that money, so you can legally say, we've paid these bonds off, even though you technically can't pay them till 2032. But
Right.
that's what this is doing.
That was a good explanation.
Yes.
I should have started
Yes.
there.
But yeah, so.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Okay.
Council, unless you have questions or comments or thoughts, I'm happy to take a motion on agenda item number 13.
Mr. Mayor, I would move approval of Resolution 2026-08-19-13, authorizing the defeasance and redemption of a portion of the outstanding City of Rollingwood, Texas General Obligation Bonds, Series 2023, approving and authorizing the execution of an escrow agreement, resolving other matters instant and related thereto, and providing for an effective date.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Mr. McDuffie. Further discussion, council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. We'll get this taken care of. Once again, I think you've been good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. Thank you for working with us on it. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 14, discussion and possible action on a drainage evaluation of the intersection of Inwood Road and Bettis Boulevard, including planning level mitigation options from Aegis. I believe this is technically Kevin Shell's agenda item. I'll just pitch it to you. As a quick reminder, council, this is an item that you have seen and talked about previously on previous agendas, but also, as you recall, there is an exceptional item for your consideration. Tonight's packet that I'll let Kevin go into some detail on. He's been kind of running point on this one. But it just kind of lays out the options for you so that you have all of the information at your disposal for when you do ultimately make some decisions on that exceptional item. With that, Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so this is the item that this is the flooding that we've seen happen at Inwood and Bettis from the Keller's house.
Get you to speak up just a little bit. That's okay.
We formally asked the staff to engage engineers to look at the problem and come up with some initial ideas and estimates of what we could do about it. This is that document. In that document, it describes the problem, talks about a couple solutions all the way from not doing much of anything to pretty significant change to one of the properties there, which I don't think is at all feasible, but it's nice to look at what we could do, because this problem is really, it's street flooding, and in the really, really big heavy rains, we saw some flooding potentially getting up against the physical structure itself. So we definitely want to mitigate that problem. So I'd like council to kind of look closely at option B here, which is looking at both. There's already a large drainage pipe that goes under the street there where water's inefficiently captured on the uphill side and water runs over the curb inefficiently on the other side of the street. So we could probably make significant progress here by looking at both sides of the streets to make improvements without a major project the scope of like Nixon and Pleasant was. Because right now I'll point out that the inlet to that storm drain is not at the low point of the street. So all the water that comes down the hill goes completely bypasses it, which leads to the street flooding, and that forces the water to the other side of the street. So we can improve that by collecting the water better on that side, and we can also improve it on the other side of the street by where it is a relatively small outflow of the street. We can increase that opening and also improve the curb and burbing on that side of the street that will protect that property from future flooding. So that's kind of the update and what's in that memo before you.
Okay. And you concur, there's probably not an action tonight.
Well,
right?
I'd make a motion to, I'll make a motion
To accept the report.
to accept the report.
There's a motion by Mr. Shell to accept the report. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell, a second by Ms. Brown. We'll have discussion.
Can I ask some questions?
Sure.
So it looks like one of the options is to basically change the curb and gutter configuration to carry the water better to that drainage pipe.
Yes.
And then the other two options are this proposed drainage channel and then maybe a detention area. And those are the ones that are less practical and maybe not necessary.
I don't think either one of them are feasible, and none of the homeowners want any part to do with any of that,
Okay.
that have
And
the problems.
And I understand the south side of the street that you described, that the water doesn't collect at the point where the inlet is to the pipe, and we're gonna change the curb to carry the water all the way to the inlet, right? But you said something about enlarging the outflow on the other side?
So on the other side of the street, the outflow from the street into the ravine
Oh,
storage
okay.
channel is pretty small, and
Okay.
it could be expanded by n number of feet.
And that
Make it more
outflow
efficient.
sits above the outlet of the pipe?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, there's
that's
a-
what I didn't understand.
There's a large ravine that goes.
I'm familiar
that
with the
property.
ravine, kinda goes, kinda under the back of the house, or through the middle of the house.
So
Between the house and the garage.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And I think some of those changes, I think, will be relatively simple. I'm glad, I feel like some of these numbers are a little bit on the high side, because I do think there are some basic things that can be improved upon and would see some significant benefit in that area.
And I'll add to that, we have another item on the agenda tonight that has, I think, a $51,000 price tag, which does more than what this probably needs to have
Mhm.
done.
Yeah. Right.
for what I believe is the first phase of this.
Yeah.
And there's a second phase potentially down the road where maybe we'll get more water from higher up the hill if more efficient to the drain, but I don't think, we would need to do this first phase no matter what,
Right.
either way. So we can do it in a phased approach and see what happens.
Well, I think this looks very sensible and practical, as you've recommended.
And my thought would be, and we'll discuss it more in our next budget discussion and when we get to exceptional items. My thought would be, sort of pick a number that you're comfortable with in terms of the budget, and then we'll, to Mr. Shell's point, do as much of the phase one as we can, feasibly do, because I do think it can be scaled up in different manners on different sides of the street and in different ways and in the future. So I think taking a bite out of the apple should be relatively simple if you can just pick a number that you're comfortable with in the budget process.
Yeah, and for those listening at home, there is already I think it's a 30-inch existing storm drain that goes through there, so we're not starting from scratch like we have at other places.
Yeah.
It's just not efficient how it's used.
Talking to Mike.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, the curb on the north side of, Bettis is not
Yes.
is not full size.
We've looked at
all
it.
the way along there, so
it's-
that needs to be
Yeah,
addressed
absolutely. It will
at
be.
a minimum. And on the south side, the inlet there, water doesn't turn on its own,
Right.
right? And right now, the drainage path is straight, and so it just bypasses
Right.
that inlet, and so it needs to be curved in, and that would make a huge difference
Totally agree.
if you could just get that water to go into the,
Yeah, and we have notified, and by
Into
we,
the
Nikki
drain.
has notified the contractor and the homeowner of that new home being constructed that we are working on this, and that we'll be just to put them on notice that we want to work with them, and we are going to be doing probably something different in that area. So
Yeah, and just visually eyeballing it, the new driveway on that property is far enough to the east that it shouldn't get in the way of improving that catch basin
yeah,
there, which we were worried about.
most of the water is coming from the other side
you're right.
of the ditch.
Yeah,
And so if you can just catch it there, it doesn't,
So that's actually talked about in the document, I believe, like what I'm calling Plan B would be potentially putting a pipe on Inwood, running it through the right-of-way directly to that big storm drain and capture all that water before it ever turns on to Bettis at all. But I think that's outside the scope of what we need to do first.
right, but it would be really helpful just to catch the water before it gets to that driveway, like right when it's getting to
Right.
the ditch, because right now it goes past and it goes up the hill and then it comes back down. And so
right.
catching it at its earliest point, even on Bettis,
Yeah.
would make a huge difference.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Shell?
That's it.
Any other questions for Mr. Shell? All right, you do have a motion and a second to receive the report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving on to agenda item number 15, discussion and update and possible action on installation of a valley gutter at the intersection of Vale Street and Bettis Boulevard and other water diversion structures. This is an agenda item that you will recognize from several past agendas. We have taken incremental steps, you have taken incremental steps to expend funds on various studies and various studies that have now resulted in what is before you today, which is essentially a ready-to-go bid package. I will turn it over to Alan to talk to you about that, but essentially there's not really any action tonight unless you choose to take an action. But Alan will kind of explain the status of where we are with this particular issue.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Mayor is correct, of course. In front of you, you see we have as directed or as part of the contract you approved with WSB, we have a bid package that's ready to be published whenever council is ready to do that for a project that's expected to cost about $51,000. We do have the engineer for the project, or the potential project, the engineer who drafted up the plans, Selena Brandon is back here, so she can address questions from a technical standpoint. But you see the designs have been done, the packet is ready to go. It's just awaiting funding from council, if that's something you'd like to proceed with. I will note, and Ms. Brandon knows, one of the residents down there is concerned about the height of one of the curves and whether that was strictly necessary in that the plans, as far as he was concerned. It was quite high for the curve, maybe unreasonably high. But if you'd like to address Selena, you can speak to it far better than I ever could. It's a very long packet.
Yes, my name is Selena Brandon. I'm with WSB. I think we've gone through this process. We talked through the drainage. I understand the concerns of the resident. I do want to be clear, when we did the drainage analysis, the valley gutter is not enough to contain the flow. So not only do we have flows coming east from Bettis, we still have flows coming south from Vale. So while I very much understand the concern, not including the raise of the curb is going to leave the home inundated.
What percentage of the flow is coming from Bettis versus from Vale?
I don't know that I have an accurate number for you, but it's substantial enough that the valley gutter wouldn't do it by itself. Wouldn't redirect the flow by itself.
What size storm was the valley gutter designed for?
So a valley gutter isn't designed for a storm. So it's designed based on City of Austin standards to re-channelize flow on a road, but make sure that vehicles won't bottom out. If it were designed for a storm system, it'd essentially be a ditch in your road. So the only real way to mitigate any of the storm events would be to provide a ditch or a storm system.
Because it doesn't look like it's very deep,
Correct.
which means it's not going to do much good.
It does direct flow from Bettis, because right now what it does is it goes west to east, and a lot of it turns where that northwest corner home is,
Right.
and then flows
Well,
across.
It all goes that way.
So the valley gutter will at least channelize a good portion of that flow. The concern with what comes across the road in front of that home, it's not going to go away because you still have flow coming from Vale that will pond in that same location and flow over.
But in terms of the height of the curb, what's called for currently is 12 inches? Is that right? And that does, it sounds like a lot, but I'm looking at Councilman Shell, because he and I have talked a lot about non-standard curb heights, and the one that is in your yard, I believe we settled on 10 inches. Is that correct? 9. And it's really not noticeable. I mean, to a large extent, I would argue.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
You don't?
No, I mean, the standard step up on just stairs, for example, rises 7 inches. So I still to this day find myself tripping up, just going up on mine, because it is a step up at 9 inches. Now mine's complicated because all the storm drains and watching for all that stuff, but I do feel like it is noticeable. And I didn't think about this till further conversations with the homeowners were for children, elderly, you know, it is a problem in other areas. We don't have anything that size here. It's a problem with car doors. You're gonna have car doors. I don't know what other safety issues there technically are with a curb that size, but 9 is significant, so another 3 inches feels like it's a bigger.
Yeah, that's right up to their front door. I mean, that's the sidewalk to their front door right there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't step over a 12-inch curb. What you would do is cut steps into it. So it would be a 2-step cut into the sidewalk.
Right.
Is what would happen. And there's no, they don't have a sidewalk from
No,
from Vale?
there is no sidewalk there. Their concern is their front walkway and all the landscaping that they.
Well,
Right.
that's what I'm
But
asking about,
just-
is the front walkway is where it goes, doesn't it go straight out to Vale?
It does.
So I'm saying from their walkway, you would cut steps down to the street
I agree, that's how you would solve it if you, that was one way to solve it.
if you raise the curb.
Correct. But that would allow access to it. I'm still just, their concerns, as they've stated, are that,
I'm sorry, I have
their
trouble-
concerns are, does it need to be that high for the whole length of it?
I mean, we're mitigating the flow quite a bit with this gutter, and we're reducing all the beddis flow that used to go up or across the street, right?
Yes, we didn't model, I guess in the original design, not formally, we didn't model just the valley gutter, but I guess, long story short, my concern is we put in the valley gutter, it doesn't mitigate it, and then you spent all this money to not protect the homeowner.
Can I have a, does the speed of the water coming down the slope from Bettis also impact the ability of the valley gutter to carry the water away?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So what was
It
happening?
impacts whether or not it turns.
Yeah, because
Right.
the water was coming
Volume.
east off Bettis and then was turning north and crossing right in front of the homeowner's house and then
Right.
going back
Right.
to the south and then proceeding along Bettis. So it was making this little dog leg to their door,
Correct, so
right?
you
And this
have
gutter
that,
will fix that.
right, so you
Right.
have that
Well-
as well as
No.
flow coming from
I don't
Vale
think it would.
south, that's connected basically at that point and coming across.
Oh, okay.
And doesn't that water, when it hits another stream of flow water, doesn't pool faster because it can't effectively turn into that running stream, which just aggravates?
So
The
right,
pool
yeah,
in?
so right now it's all ponding in front of the neighbor on that west side.
Right, but even if you put in the valley gutter, you have that volume of water coming down Bettis, any water coming down Vale, it's going to,
Cross.
it's not gonna be able to cross because it's gonna slow down because it's gonna hit that running stream and effectively start pooling.
I think it's gonna
Immediately.
pool where it currently pools.
That's what I'm saying. This is
I don't
gonna-
think it'll hit the valley gutter necessarily. I think some of it will, but it's ponding there because that's a low point,
And it's crossing the street to the east there in front of their house
correct?
and ponding there in front of their house.
Mhm.
So, other than raising the curb, is there any way to keep the grade flowing all the way down or raise the street up to make the low point the valley? I mean, that's a big project, I know, but that's the solution, isn't it, to build the street up?
Yeah, I think part of the solution would need to be raising on the west side. But that property is just so low, it's not just the road low, it's the,
Below grade.
mhm.
Is there a different, like, could you do a 6-inch curb and then design some other 6-inch something just stepped back from the curb?
Step the curb.
Right. So you have the curb. I mean, essentially what you had
Mhm.
before, but a better version, not a
Right.
Jackie Bob version. So,
He was good.
but it would be
I like that.
some sort of, you know, a standard curb, and then something just behind the curb that
But that's going into their
A retaining,
landscaping and all
I,
that.
Right.
so they need a retaining,
I
they,
understand.
they need a re-
I'm right there with you,
I know, I
Mayor.
get it.
Okay, I hear you.
they need a retaining wall.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
happened.
you are not incorrect, you definitely could stage this in any way, but then you're on property.
So, one of the questions I had with that is like, is there any way to tell, or do you know that, would the amount of pooling be lessened because of the valley gutter, and therefore you don't have to extend the curb all the way, that 12-inch curb all the way down as far as it's in this plan? Is there any sort of wiggle room there?
I definitely think that it's possible, we just didn't model multiple options with it.
Okay.
I have a question. I don't like the 12-inch curb either. I think it's a problem. But I also like the idea of kind of stepping it and essentially why couldn't we go ahead and just include in the project building a retaining wall for them 3 feet in, because it's all right away anyway, the first 10 feet from the street. You know, a little retaining wall that would stair step it from a 6-inch curb and then a 6-inch retaining wall, and then to tell the homeowner, we fixed it, now you can backfill and redo your landscaping, sorry. But, I mean, it just seems like a good solution. Or build the 6-inch curb and tell them, hey, if you wanna keep it out, you gotta build a 6-inch retaining wall yourself and backfill it and do it the way you want it and design it consistently with your landscaping. I mean, I don't wanna build a 12-inch curb. I think it's a bad thing to have out there. I think your point about car doors and the height, it's not to any standard that exists for pedestrianized, you know, access.
Yeah, we definitely understand. We had conversations with the city on how to mark this, because obviously it will be concerned with car doors and just knowing that this is not a standard curb. But I think any solution is possible. It's just how much are you willing to spend to do it and how much are you gonna impact the resident to do it. So from what we provided for 51,000, it mitigates the flooding and helps channelize the flow.
I think it's a great improvement. I think that the channel or the you know, that little drainage way is a great idea. And I think then going in back and having a 6-inch or whatever the existing standard curb is okay, and tell the homeowner, you know, we've improved it, but we've done what we can. The rest has to be done on your lot with a retaining wall. That seems reasonable to me. I don't know.
I mean, we do have the right of way to work with. I mean, I wouldn't do it without some sort of coordination and
Sure.
agreement, but
We could offer to help with that retaining wall if we wanted to. But
I mean, my bottom line is I don't want to do something that's not, if the engineers think that 12 inches is what you need, I don't care how do we get to 12 inches. If it's 6 inches curb and 6 inches of something else,
is a
but
bad
I don't want
design.
to just do 6 inches and hope for the best, so.
I understand. I think reaching out to the homeowner and trying to get a cooperative solution is a smart
Yeah,
solution.
so
way to
Sarah,
approach
you,
it.
I think we need to do more with the valley gutter. Because to me, the valley gutter looks like it'll keep, if somebody's sprinkler is overflowing into the street, it'll keep that water going straight. But if there's a big storm, it's not significant enough to make much difference. It doesn't look like to me, because it's not very deep. And looking at the drawings, to me, it looks like it starts after the curb has started to curve and then goes into the curb on the other side. The center line of the valley gutter is going from the curb to the curb instead of staying in the street. So it doesn't even look like you're sending the water where you want it to go.
Could we ask, could you address that question?
So if you change that, then it's not a valley gutter. You're essentially creating a flow ditch in your street, and then you need to mitigate so cars and vehicles don't bottom out. That's why it's shallow. It's just meant to channelize the flow. It's not meant to carry a storm event.
Well, I think what we need is something that will carry a storm event.
Yeah, and that
Be-
would usually
because-
look like a storm system.
Because a 2-inch rainfall is not a problem. I mean, the 2-year rainfall right now, that's not what they're having problems with. So we don't need to spend $50,000 to treat that. We need to spend money to fix the big problem.
But if
So if you don't call it, we don't have a valley gutter, I don't think, at the end of Nixon. It's a ramp that keeps the water going down, and that's working great. And so maybe we need to look at going up instead of going down, and we have people speeding on that street right now anyway. So if we have something in the road that makes them slow down, that's a traffic calming benefit also.
I've seen that before. We had that in front of my office in Lubbock, and cars would bottom out every day. Kaboom! It's terrible. They finally fixed it after 25 years of me being there. But it's a lot more expensive to try to come up with a solution within the limits of our streets than it is to come up with a solution within the limits of our right-of-way, because we do have that 10 feet outside the street. And I think that raising up the most efficient, cost-effective solution to keep water out of that resident's house is to do something in the right-of-way to get the 12 inches that we need, but not with a 12-inch curb. So a 6-inch curb and then some kind of retaining wall step up. That could be designed in cooperation with the homeowner and their landscape architects, and we could contribute something to help make that happen. I think it is a public responsibility to solve drainage problems like that, and it is our right-of-way in which it would take place. So I would support, trying to work with the homeowner to develop a plan.
But then we're also putting all of the burden of this drainage problem on the homeowner that is not contributing to the problem at all.
We're really not, because it's
We-
gonna go in the right of way, which we own, they don't, and it would be, and we could contribute to the cost or even pay for the cost of such a retaining wall. Now, they're gonna have to adjust their landscaping and backfill it and put some lawn in, and yeah, that's a burden, but, I mean, their house is low, so, we can do what we can do on our
I
part.
suspect that they would work with us on that.
I think so.
Question though, in terms of what's drawn today, you modeled it, right?
Mhm.
You did hydraulic modeling.
Correct.
So what did you model it off of? Like, I realize that the valley gutter isn't designed to carry a storm event, but you
So-
modeled it on storm events. So
So
the whole intersection will function at what type of modeling?
So the design of the valley gutter was based off City of Boston standards for roadway valley gutters. We did, I believe it was the 2-year, the 25 and the 100, or 2-year tenant. We did 3 storm events, and it protects the home up to the 100-year with the 12-inch curb and the valley gutter.
But what does just the valley gutter do?
We were only, our scope only included design of the one comprehensive solution.
Yeah, so you're modeling it all together is
Correct.
the point of that statement.
Yes,
Right, so you didn't just model one, you modeled how it all works together.
correct.
Correct.
But the valley gutter's not gonna solve the problem. I think we can all probably confidently agree on that.
Okay.
We saw that Nixon Pleasant, that didn't work when we had the valley gutter. It's a different situation, but we spent good money, didn't work.
Well, that's my
Right.
concern, is that we put in a valley gutter over there that was either improperly designed or improperly constructed, and we spent money and it didn't work.
Right.
And now we have something that does work, so I want to make sure what we put in
Yeah.
is worth the money that we spend on it.
Right.
But the valley gutter's part of a solution that is
Well-
combined with the 12-inch grade change that solves the problem.
Well, I think the most important part is the 12-inch curb is what's really solving the problem.
Right, that's what it sounds
That,
like.
that's what
Yeah.
we really are proposing here. So you take that away, we don't have a
So
solution.
we need to design that in a way that's more palatable to the homeowner, cooperatively.
Sounds
So-
like it.
It's not in this because we know the cost of it would probably be prohibitive, but I mean, the actual fix for the whole thing is to tear out the entire intersection and redo the streets. Like, that's the end, that's the actual solution.
But even then, that's still not gonna convey enough. I'm not sure you get away with 6-inch curbs if you do that too, if you don't put anything below ground.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it'll be better, but it won't be a solution.
Well, I would make a motion that you go work with the homeowner to try to come up with an aesthetically pleasing and functional solution that gets you 12 inches of grade change with a combination of maybe a curb and a retaining wall, cooperatively with the homeowner, and do what we need to do to participate to make it reasonable and fair.
I'll take that motion if you'll restate it in a short motion.
Alan, you wanna say that for me? Okay, I make a motion that we authorize the mayor to go try to negotiate a solution with the homeowner
To facilitate a total 12-inch.
to facilitate a total of 12-inch with, a 6-inch curb and maybe a retaining wall.
You have a motion, can you get a second?
Second.
Yeah. You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen, a second by Mr. McDuffie. I took this motion just to kind of get a sense from the council. You're not making it, we're not moving forward with a project or anything like that. I've taken the motion and the second so that I can have clear guidance on how you want us to proceed. And so if you pass this motion, we will go see if we can figure that out, and we'll work with the engineer, and then if we can come up with something that works, we would incorporate it into the existing bid package that's ready to go, and then bring that back to you. And we'll try to do that by the next, we'll try to do that by the time you make some decisions on exceptional items, so that you have a sense of how you, because this too is an exceptional item, and you'll need to make a decision if you're gonna allocate funds to a potential project or not. So, that's the motion, that's the second. All those in favor?
Hang on.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, we got Dave had sat up here for a while.
Okay.
And I'll just comment on the retaining wall solution. So I had that solution on my property for years, the Jackie Bob Special. It worked great until it didn't. And it didn't because of, just more water started, the situation changed. But it was a good solution. It does require maintenance. It will tear up, that water will rip up everything. It will knock over whatever. We have to make sure we build in a way that has the least amount of maintenance if the homeowner wants to do it. But, so like I said, I liked that solution when it worked. I was okay with it, especially the cost, but there is that aspect we really gotta be careful with.
Well, I mean, for that matter, we've got 10 foot of right of way. We could dig a drainage channel on the homeowner's property on the first 10 feet of their lot, which they don't own, and channel the water that way, but we don't want to do that. I mean, it would be aesthetically offensive, and a homeowner would be appalled, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's possible.
I mean, they've discussed some of these ideas with me as options, so I think they'd be open to this conversation. I'd love to hear what they can cook up.
Yeah.
Do we want to recognize
Good
Dave?
conversation.
I will in a minute. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Sarah, did you have something to add?
I have a question on the report. Under the hydrology section, there's a chart in there
Well, let
and it
me,
says,
if we're gonna go, is it related to the motion on the table?
it's related to the calculations that were done
Okay,
for the basis for the design.
okay.
And I just want to make sure that, because I think that the chart in here is not, the units are not correct. And I'm assuming that the calculations were done with the correct units, but the table 1, it says precipitation depth in feet. And a
Feet.
2-year or a 100-year 5-minute storm is 1.28. I'm guessing that should be inches and not feet.
I will go back and look, but I do believe it is feet. That's not like a flood wall coming at you. It's I'm so sorry. It's been a long day, so my brain's not functioning well. I'll verify and come back with that. But
Okay. Well, it says depth, duration, frequency. And a 2-year, I'm used to seeing storm return frequencies listed with inches of rain and not feet of rain. And that just looks really high for feet.
Is it under the 100-year? I'm not looking at it.
It's all of them.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
depth of a 2-year, 24-hour storm would be 4 feet.
Will you check on that?
I will definitely check
Yeah.
on that. There's a very eloquent way of explaining this, and I am not capable of providing that at this time.
We'll let you collect your thoughts and then circle back, if you will do that.
Will do.
All right. Will, does your comment relate to the motion on the table? Okay.
Dave Bench, 1 Randolph. I just been watching this happen for the past 6 months, and I'm just wondering if you've ever been to Midland, Texas, the way that they dispose of water is they use what they call an inverse crown, where most road work is built such that the crown is high in the center. But on some of the main streets in Midland, they do exactly the opposite. They put the low point in the middle of the road, so that when it rains, and sometimes it rains harder, excuse me, sometimes it rains harder there than it does here, all of the water travels to the center of the road, and then it moves off to wherever it needs to be disposed. When this thing first came up, I was called to go take a look at it. I was the wrong person to call, but I got the call anyway. So I went and I looked. I said, yeah, what this looks like. It looks like an inverse crown would take care of this. If you just took this and scooped out the center of the road and made it as low as it is high today, it would be able to handle an amazing amount of water. And it wouldn't be all just channeled to one small spot. I'm just asking if that's been considered, and if it hasn't, maybe it should be. Just a thought. Thank you.
So are you in favor or opposed to working with the homeowner to do an extra 6
I am
inches?
in favor of working with the homeowner.
All right,
Absolutely.
perfect. And that is the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. There being 5 ayes, no, was aye and aye. 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. All right, we will work with the homeowner to look at that right-of-way behind the curb. We'll try to do something different than a 12-inch curb. We will figure out if we can come to that conclusion. We will roll it into what's there. We will also take Mr. Mitch's comments into consideration as well. And you will figure out if it's feet or inches. All right.
I have one more thing for that list.
Sure. Yep.
This is for Selena. In the design, I couldn't tell if the 12-inch curb, you were also recommending doing that at the top of the valley gutter as well, on the property that's at the top of it. And it,
Property on the west side?
yes.
No.
Okay, I just didn't see clarification of that in the design package, which one it was. May not matter for this, but since we're talking about it, there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's showing it as existing.
Okay, any other actions to be taken on agenda item number 15? All right, hearing none, we will move on to agenda item number 16. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Moving on to agenda item number 16, discussion and possible action to receive a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission and to set a public hearing date or dates jointly or separately with the Planning and Zoning Commission on a proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 107, Section 107-3 of the Rolling Wood Code of Ordinances related to playhouses and playscapes. I believe this is Ms. Brown's agenda item. She's been working diligently on this with staff and others, and I will turn it over to Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are actually 3 items here.
I'm happy
I'll
to
just
pull
give a
them.
brief overview.
Do you want to pull them all up?
I guess, yes.
Or how about I just pull up 17 since it's... Just proceed with
Six-
16 if you would.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and I'll just, as a way of introduction, on these 3 items, 16, 17, and 18, what is being asked of the council is discussion and action to set a public hearing and determination of whether you would like to do that public hearing jointly with planning and zoning or individually at planning and zoning and then at city council. We have the first item, proposed ordinance that would be set for public hearing, deals with playhouses and playscapes. You've seen this proposed language before, and it is now in the, we proofed this several times, it's now in the format that has been approved by, not approved in substance by planning and zoning, but approved for publication for the purpose of holding a public hearing and receiving public input. And as you see, what we've done is to address the issue of playscapes by removing them from the definition of an accessory building. And then it deals with playhouses by removing some playhouses, minimum in size and with designated locations, not to encroach on the setbacks. Those would also be exempt from the definition of an accessory building. It wouldn't prohibit a playhouse of a larger size or location. It would just require that they go through the permit process. So that is the Playhouse Playscape Ordinance, and what we're being asked to do is to decide whether to set that for a joint public hearing with planning and zoning, or if we want to set it for public hearing for planning separately and city council separately.
And would your proposed date for that hearing be September 16th?
I don't have a date in mind. I think we have to consult with the city staff and make sure we're good on all the notices that have to go out.
I think their recommendation would be September 16th.
All right, great. Works for me. So that is that, I would move, well, first my preference would be for these three items to have a joint public hearing. I think it concentrates the interest. The community only has to show up one time. Everybody on the planning and zoning and everybody on the council gets the benefit of hearing all the comments at one point in time. And then we can the planning and zoning commission can take their action and the city council can take their action. So I think it's sufficient in terms of both the noticing and efficient in our residents in getting their input to both the council and to planning and zoning. And so I would move that we set the proposed ordinance on playhouses and playscapes for a joint public hearing with planning and zoning on September 16.
And I have a question I'm going to pitch to Counselor here. I will take that motion in a moment. My question is, Counselor, if the motion is to set a joint public hearing, and then let's say we're not able to get a quorum for one portion of that joint hearing, let's say P and Z, we can't establish quorum, but the motion was to do a joint, would we not be allowed to set it since the motion was for a joint hearing?
So right off the top of my head, if you set it for a joint public hearing and planning and zoning isn't there, then city council I don't think city council can move forward.
That's where I was thinking.
But if council isn't present and P and Z is, I think you could move forward with the P and Z hearing, and then council could have its hearing later at a future published time.
But since a joint hearing is not required, could the motion be a double barrel motion to set the public hearing for city council on September 16th and to include, if possible, planning and zoning?
Well, planning and zoning is always going to have to be first.
Okay.
That's the problem, or not problem, but that's the order.
Well, I'll accept. I'm happy to accept the motion, just flagging that as a possibility, and if it doesn't work out, then we will. Or do you want to make it for the first available date that a quorum can be established for both? And if
Let's do that, because I was just thinking that now that this issue's come to light, we should ask staff to
make
seek
sure
a quorum,
that's where I am. Yeah.
seek attendance report.
If you'll make your motion in that manner, I'll take that motion and then know for the record and for you that September 16th will be what we shoot for to begin with.
Great, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll amend my motion to ask that we set the Playhouse and Playscape proposed ordinance that's identified in agenda item number 16 for a joint public hearing with planning and zoning and the city council on the first available date that staff can give us for a joint hearing.
You have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Ms. Hudson. Discussion, council? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving on to agenda item number 17, similar agenda item, discussion and possible action to receive a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission and to set a public hearing date or dates jointly or separately with the Planning and Zoning Commission on a proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 107 zoning, Article 4, changes in regulations or zoning district boundaries to conform to statutory changes affecting Chapter 107 zoning. turn this over to Ms. Brown, also has worked diligently on this issue. Recognize Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is the ordinance that would conform the processes before planning and zoning with recent changes, the last two legislative sessions that affect how planning and zoning can do its business. If you look at the, it got unnecessarily complicated because of the legislative language here. I'll just express a little concern there. So you'll see a memo that I prepared that identifies what the various notice changes are, the changes to the protest provisions in the code, and the that were necessary to bring our code into compliance with state law. We've the one issue that I would ask that you think about before we get to a final vote on approval or amendment to this is whether you want to maintain. We currently have a 20-day notice rule for most of our planning and zoning and hearings. State law now lets that be 16 days instead of 20, and we can we're not mandated to use the 16. We can keep the 20, but in this proposed ordinance, we've gone to the 16 to keep things a little simpler and a little more efficient. And that would be the one policy change that's in here that's not mandated by state law. But if you look at that memo, you can run through what the legislative changes were and why this ordinance is as complicated as it is.
And, you know, it was a struggle, wasn't it? Getting
It was
through
a struggle.
Yeah.
We
I didn't realize it would
have, we now have non-comprehensive zoning changes, comprehensive zoning changes, and comprehensive zoning changes that affect a use, create a non-conforming use, and zoning changes that are not a comprehensive zoning change but create a non-conforming use to struggle with in this language, and we finally got there.
Well,
And so
don't worry, 5 more months, they'll change it again.
exactly, or won't let us zone at all. Let's not give them any ideas. But this proposed ordinance, I would ask that the council recommend that, or my motion would be that the council approve the setting of a public hearing jointly with planning and zoning to address the proposed ordinance changes to Chapter 107 zoning, dealing with changes from legislative action.
At the first available.
At the first available date that staff can give us.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Ms. Hudson. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. And with that, we will move on to the third in this triumvirate. And
Item number 18.
Item number 18, discussion and possible action to receive a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission to set a public hearing date or dates jointly or separately with the Planning and Zoning Commission on a proposed ordinance to amend the Rollingwood Code of Ordinances, Chapter 101-256, tree protection requirements, and 107 zoning, to adopt non-substantive corrections and cross-references and clarify references. In legislative parlance, this would be called a non-substantive recodification, a recod bill. So with that,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
did I take your thunder there?
You did.
I just wanted to say recod. It's one of my favorite types of bills because it requires no lobbying.
Yes. This item, as explained by the mayor, is non-substantive changes that correct edits and nits and references and section numbers based on several different groups of changes that have been made in the last several years. So I would ask that this proposed ordinance be set for public hearing jointly with planning and zoning at the first available date that the staff might be able to give us on that.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Ms. Hudson. Same song, third verse. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, councilman. With that, we move on to agenda item number 19, discussion and possible action on an oak wilt prevention, mitigation, and remediation ordinance. This is Mr. Shell's agenda item that he's worked very hard on. Appreciate his work on this with staff, with council. Just a quick reminder, this is an item that you all have seen on previous agendas. More importantly, it is also an exceptional item that you have given consideration to and that you will give final consideration to when you adopt your exceptional items later in the month or next month, next week. And so I believe I'll turn it over to Mr. Shell for the specifics, but just historical context. When this first came before you, it was in sort of a narrative form. We got sort of a tentative thumbs up from you on that. That's what allowed us to move to the budget process, fully develop that exceptional item for your consideration in our budget workshop. Again, we have positive responses there, and so now I think what Mr. Shell has been working on is to begin starting to put together the actual ordinance form. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Shell.
Yeah, I think that summarizes it pretty well. This ordinance before you is, I have 6 minor edits that I need to make as part of a motion tonight to get changed that we weren't able to get in before that. I think they're pretty simple to understand and easy to do here, even though I hate doing it this way. I can start with that, and then if there's other feedback or comments to the ordinance that needs to be changed, we can take that. Or if there's just general discussion about it, at this point, we can do that first, whatever council wants to do.
I'm good with that approach. If you want to take us through one by one and tell us what the changes would be, we'll kind of give you a thumbs up or thumbs down in terms of a motion, a second, and a vote. That'll give us some clarity for staff and for the city attorney to go back and fine tune this. There's probably, unless you want to move forward with a final adoption, my thought would be let's give you that guidance and clarity when in those motions, and then you'll be in a good spot to then have the discussion on the exceptional item, and then the final ordinance we can bring back for adoption after we adopt the budget.
Okay,
Does that work?
if that works for council, great.
Turn it over to you for the changes that you would recommend.
Okay, is it best to just do these by line numbers,
I would
Charlie?
identify the line number, have a quick discussion as to what it is, tell us the change that you're recommending, and if you'll make the motion, I'll take that in a second, and then council can give you a thumbs up or thumbs down if they think you're headed the right direction.
So is the motion for each one of the changes?
Yes, sir.
So I move to change line number 11 and 12 of confirmed infection center should be infected tree.
So you're recommending to strike confirmed infection center and
Replace with infected tree.
infected tree.
Confirmed infection center is not defined anywhere in this document, so I don't know what the heck it is.
Okay, you have a motion to amend the proposed ordinance on line 11 and 12, striking confirmed infection center and substituting infected tree. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell, second by Ms. Brown.
Does it need to say confirmed infected tree?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I mean, we have a definition for infected tree.
okay.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. There's one down.
Move that line number 32, the words infected oak tree.
What are the line numbers? I'm sorry.
Line number 32 and 33. The words infected oak tree be changed to infected tree.
Oh, yeah.
So this is just using the definition that we created at the top.
Okay, you have a motion by Mr. Shell to amend line 32 and 33, striking infected oak tree and substituting infected tree. Do you have a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell, second by Mr. McDuffie. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Two down.
Move to line number 78 to replace the phrase oak wilt infected tree with infected tree.
I love your amendments. These are great. wish
Yeah.
all amendments I dealt with were like this. Okay, 78, you say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry,
And if you're lost, these are actually all in the comments of this document.
Oakwood. Okay. You have a motion by Mr. Shell to amend line 78, striking oak wilt infected tree and substituting just striking oak wilt. And now it will read uninfected tree. Is that correct?
Yes.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell, second by Mr. McDuffie. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
Aye.
Was that a?
That was an aye.
Okay, an aye. It was a late aye. I got you. Five ayes, no nays. Motion carries. All right.
All right, I move that this sentence starting at 163, line 163, if the applicant performs or may perform tree maintenance within a designated hot zone, be struck. Just remove that sentence completely.
Okay, you have a motion to amend line 163, 164 to strike if the applicant performs or may perform tree maintenance within a designated hot zone. Is that correct?
Correct. We want anyone doing any maintenance on oak trees in the city to have the awareness training.
Have the what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
The first part of that says that anyone working on trees needs to have proof that they've had the oak wilt training and awareness. We want that to happen everywhere in the city, not just in the hot zones.
Oh, I see. So the key phrase here is you're taking out the hot zone designation and you're encouraging this type of activity to be in any part of the city.
Correct.
Okay. So you have a motion by Mr. Shell to strike that portion of line 163 and 164. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell, second by Ms. Brown. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. That's 4 down.
I move to do on line number 191 to replace the phrase infected oak trees with infected trees.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell to amend line 191, striking the word oak. It will now read of infected trees. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell, second by Mr. McDuffie. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Okay, I move that we strike the sentence on line 203 and 204, talking about annual funding to be incentive to replace removed trees.
And is that sentence the one that reads, where annual funding remains available, the incentive may also be applied toward replacement of a removed tree with a species not susceptible
Correct.
to oak wilt?
That's why I didn't want to read it.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, at this time, we don't want to have an incentive program to replace trees. So just strike it completely.
Okay, you have a motion by Mr. Shell to strike the aforementioned sentence on line 203 and 204. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell, second by Ms. Brown. Further discussion, council? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Nice work. Is that it?
That's it.
I have
Yes, ma'am.
one question.
Did I miss an infected tree?
No, I caught something after I read this again. On line 86 and 87. This is the trimming restriction. It says, no person shall trim or cut an oak tree susceptible to oak wilt disease during the period February 1 to June 30 of each year. I thought we couldn't trim any oak tree during that period. So does the phrase susceptible to oak wilt disease actually do anything? I mean, are there oaks that aren't susceptible to oak wilt disease?
Monterey oaks
Monterey oaks?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I have one of
and
those.
bur oaks.
I make care.
I'm sorry?
And bur oaks, I
Yeah.
believe,
Okay.
are probably not.
All right.
Good.
My
I'll-
question's been resolved,
Well, and I learned something, so look at that.
and I did too.
Okay, any other
Those are the two oak
thoughts,
trees that-
questions?
Just remember those tree names when we start putting trees in the
Yeah,
park.
right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Shell. We will we will make all of those 6 amendments to this proposed ordinance. We could talk about it more when you do the exceptional item, but I think we're in a pretty good spot if you agree.
I appreciate the clarification on the process. That's super helpful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
happy to do that. So we'll make a decision on the exceptional item, and then we can bring this back for final adoption. And the next time you see it, we will probably have it in actual ordinance. Well, yeah, we'll put it in actual ordinance form. I feel like we've got it or you have it in a pretty good spot.
Okay.
All right, with that, no other action to be taken. We will move on to agenda item number 20. Discussion and possible action regarding code changes to address operation of drilling rigs within the city, including but not limited to allowable hours of operation and requirements for proof of all required authorization permits for installation of wells or borings. I believe this is Ms. Hudson's agenda item. I recognize Ms. Hudson.
It is. So a week ago Sunday, I was driving home from church/grocery store and coming down Rollingwood Drive, and there was a drill rig in a front yard on Rollingwood Drive. And I was surprised, and my first thought was, it's Sunday. There's not supposed to be construction going on Sunday, and surely that should be considered construction, but maybe we don't have our code clear to cover that. So, just from a noise ordinance standpoint, that was my first concern. We don't have a permitting process for wells in Rollingwood. They are required to be approved by the groundwater district, and you have to have water rights in order to have a well. So there is a process that someone is supposed to go through in order to be able to install a well. But after thinking about this a little bit more, I also was concerned about somebody installing a well and the potential for cross connection between well water and the potable water system.
And the what? The piped water from the
Our
city?
city water system,
Okay.
right. So there may be a need for us to have some kind of inspection review process if somebody puts in a well, to make sure that they don't cross-connect that with the city water in any way. So, not something that we've ever
Nope.
addressed in the past. I
It's not on my-
never saw a
not on
need
my
for it
bingo
in the
card.
past, but the drill rig was sitting right there, so.
Yes, all of that.
So did you say that it was allowed by our code to happen on the weekend?
No, it would
Well,
be.
well,
I
So
mean,
which problem are we talking about?
It doesn't really speak to it. We were not aware of it. I think a reasonable interpretation of our code, we would consider that construction.
Construction, right.
And so, had we known about it or seen it and noticed it, had it happened obviously on a weekday, we probably would have taken some action. I don't think anyone knew that it was happening on the Sunday in normal circumstances, or if we would have noticed it on a Sunday, we would have considered it construction and,
Okay.
and probably at the very minimum just said, hey, whatever you're doing, you can't do it today. Outside of that, Pro Tem Hudson is correct. Certain requirements and permits are required from the Water Conservation District that oversees this portion of the groundwater, and so they would need to go through those processes. I know that staff and Alan has given some thought to this, and I'll turn it over to him as maybe a proposed idea that we would consider bringing back to you, or have work with Ms. Hudson to bring back for your consideration. I'll let him explain what maybe could be done.
Well, this is something I'm still trying to work with the legal counsel on, but my proposal was to declare drilling activities, including water well drilling activities, to be a nuisance unless they're otherwise excused by coming in to show they've got the required permits from the Groundwater Conservation District and then are allocated a time for such drilling by the building official.
So basically it just checks and balance.
Presume it to be a nuisance unless you can prove to Nikki otherwise.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I see in the, in our code does define in section 103.114 drilling to be development. Development includes any man-made change to improved or unimproved real estate, including drilling operations or storage of equipment or materials. And I would think, I don't know if we have, I guess I think we need a comprehensive recommendation is to drill, water well drilling. And I know that there's some statutory limitations on oil well drilling. And I don't know if we need to get that far, but I think
Well,
water well drilling, we would want to have a permit process, not just rely on the water district permit to make sure that they don't drill through one of our water lines.
Nikki, do we have anybody that's doing borings for foundation? Because that was another thing that I wasn't sure if we had anybody using a drill rig to do any soil borings for.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Because I was trying to think of all reasons why you would have a drill rig out here. And it's a water well, clearly borings for construction purposes, if you're, trying to determine whether or not you have adequate stability of the subsurface. My daughter is a geologist, and I talked to her about this a little bit, and I said, do we need something on oil wells? And she goes, well, good luck with that. There is no oil in this. And she gives me a whole geological description of why there was no oil under us. So maybe we don't need to worry about the oil wells, but the water wells and borings would be the only two things I could think of that we might need to.
The amount of, I've looked at the geological survey of Rollingwood. For the most part, we're on, most of Rollingwood is on limestone shelf. So, I don't think you're going to have a lot of instability unless you hit a cavern.
Well, we do have caves in Rollingwood, and
That's
so
what I'm saying.
that was the other thing that she mentioned was if you do any kind of trenching or boring, that you could hit voids, and that would require Fish and Wildlife, all kinds of other
There is a
requirements.
demolition permit, an application for that. So maybe they were doing drilling for construction plans. Just throwing that out there.
Sure.
They had a permit for what?
They have a permit, well, they don't have a permit, they have an application for a demolition for that project or property.
Yeah, but
Well, do we
drilling
know-
is not part of demolition.
Right.
No.
But
Was the rig actually running when you saw it?
I don't believe it was running, it was just sitting there, but in the front yard.
So it could have, so they could have been doing a boring.
I
Yeah.
don't know what they were doing. I just drove by and didn't
All right.
stop, and I was just
Right,
surprised
and I
to
was out
see
there on
it.
duty that day, and so the rig was there, but they were not
were not.
actively doing
Oh,
any
okay.
work
Oh, that's-
with it, and we didn't receive any
Oh, okay.
notification that drilling was happening.
Okay,
that day.
okay, that's
But the
good.
rig was there.
Okay, got it. That's good to know. Okay, well, so anyway, jury's out. We'll figure out.
Can I say something?
Sure.
It just struck me, and maybe between Sarah and I, we can brainstorm this.
If you'll, I
Do you-
know, but identify
you
yourself.
remember
Would you identify yourself?
There was I'm sorry, Shanti J. Kumar, 3309 Parkins Drive. I should do that, yeah. Many years ago, and I have this documentation somewhere, I can find it. Somebody that lived off of Rockway Cove, where Duke Garwood now lives, kind
Or
of
next door.
or
Yeah.
next door,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Where the access
got-
was, they dug a big well,
They got a permit.
and they said it was for agricultural permit.
Right.
Do you remember that?
I remember that,
Okay.
yes.
So I'm just saying,
They had water rights
has-
for a whole lot of water.
exactly, exactly. But they had to go. There was a constraint by the Travis County or the state of not going into the Edwards Aquifer. They were
Down
going
into the Trinity,
Exactly.
right,
Which is deeper,
right.
like 75 feet or some such thing. There was some kind of a case there was a lot of stuff that happened. And I know I have documentation on that,
Right.
but do you remember that?
I do remember that.
So that was a
yes.
drilling operation right there in Rollingwood for water, salty water, they said, but it was okay for
Irrigation purposes, right.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Shadi. Okay, any action to be taken, or what do you want to do?
We
Keep an
just
eye out,
Need to look
figure
into
out.
it further and figure out. I just wanted to make sure that our current code prohibited this on the weekends, right?
I think we're covered there.
Because I'm sitting there going, do you construct a well? Do you install a well? Do you drill a well? I mean, is somebody gonna get, funny with the terminology, like, don't jump on the bed. I'm not jumping, I'm hopping, I mean, it's like, I just wanted to make sure that we were legally covered to say that that was not allowed under the code the way it's currently written. And then figure out if we need to do anything else to protect our water system from cross-contamination or anything else that we need to do to make sure that it doesn't cause problems.
Well, I think in terms of the first question there, we do consider it construction, so we do have that authority if it's going on in restricted hours. Past that, let's stay on the lookout, and if we see said rig parked again, let's just ask them what they're doing, and then we'll go from there. So, all right. Great. Moving on from agenda item number 20 on to agenda item number 21, discussion and possible action on nominating an elected official, that would be one of us, for the Texas Municipal League regional seat position on the Texas Municipal League Board of Directors. I'm out, but I'll turn it over to Alan. This is his agenda item, just putting it here for your consideration.
This is something that comes up periodically. If one of you would like to volunteer to be a candidate to do extra work and serve on the TML regional seat. In the packet there, starting on page 421, you see the email that TML sent us. And it's for a 2-year term. It does have to be an elected official, so I'm out also. But if you'd like to be considered, now would be a time to nominate yourself or nominate somebody else who you know is an elected official.
So I am happy to take any motion other than nomination of myself. For if one of you want to nominate yourself or pull a prank on your colleague, I will take those motions at this time.
I've already been hazed once for board and commission. I'm out.
Yeah, you're officially out of new guy status, or we probably would have nominated you, but
Yeah, you already shot that bullet.
yeah. Hearing no
And
motions.
say Brooke would be great if she
Yeah.
wants to do it.
Brooke looks like she'd be the one.
Her TML days are,
I do not seek nomination.
yeah, exactly.
Thank you,
Yeah,
though.
we could do.
Thank you for the confidence.
Yeah, do negative nominations. So. Okay, hearing no nominations from the floor, and Alan, thank you for flagging it and giving us the opportunity, but we do respectfully decline at this time.
Having spent my honeymoon
I started to
at
say.
the International
that-
ICMA
I started to
conference, I've
say.
done my bit.
That's going back to Brooks' youth there. But, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays. You are adjourned. Thank you, council.
What was that picture you